Hi there, my name is Aurora and I have a YouTube channel called Alchemy of Truth, and my email and details and descriptions will be underneath this link. I'd like to share with you something that's very, very close to what we're going through right now. There's actually two things that I want to discuss. The first thing is what's happening right now in terms of people are dreaming the weirdest things. I know myself, I've dreamt a few strange things which are completely, you can't explain exactly what that is. I can give you a little bit of guidance here in terms of what's happening on the planet if we want to understand or discern our dreams as it is now. Now, based on a few months ago, I would say, or probably a few weeks ago, maybe more, there's been a tilt in terms of the planet's alignment. So it's, as opposed to having it at an angle, you know, that wobble that we're all going through, or that we did at some point, it's now slightly, maybe even 0.000, please, I cannot give you the exact pinpoint degrees, but it's gone a little bit straighter than it was. So it's coming slightly out of its wobble on its axis. Based on that, there has been significant shifts on the planet. How it happened is not really the focus, but what's happening is more the focus. The tilt has caused the planet to have the, if you would look at, I can explain it better by using an example of an egg with the egg yellow, or the white around the egg. Say the earth is the yellow, and as it's started to move a little bit, so the white around the egg is also starting to move to compensate for that bit of, to calibrate to the balance of the earth. So that would be layman's terms to describe multi dimensions coming together to just stay in sync with the planet as it is. So what you're having now are bleed-throughs in your dreams, in your experiences of perhaps old experiences that you've had, like a past life, certain lessons, life lessons that you might not have dealt with are just flashing through. So you'll have a bit of a fracture in terms of memories, perhaps not being able to sleep at night very, very properly. You would normally sleep around however many hours you do. You'll have this type of bit of bleed through coming through, but in about 2 weeks or so, it should settle down more to the new calibrated balance that there is. Now, what this has done was it's unearthed or exhumed or exposed, however you want to look at it, scratched open, peeled open, however you want to see it, as old things that might have happened undercover, or things that were hidden. Things that were hidden are now coming to the foreground. I don't know if you've noticed that there's been a great sudden inflow or all over of scandals, secrets that have come out, some people who have passed on that you wouldn't expect to. So it's really, just imagine the egg with the white trying to accommodate to the yellow. That should just give you a bit of an explanation why you're feeling a little bit weird. You might have lived your life in a specific way according to that balance that you thought, that we all thought we were having, that we all thought we had, and based on that, now we're adjusting to a new balance. It's almost like experiencing a more level sort of style of life living now. Also, the weather is a little bit weird too, so you'd find maybe excessive heat, like for example where I live, there's excessive weather shift in the heat, and at some places very, very cold, more cold than usual, and so on. I hope that gives an explanation to why we're going through these strange little shifts or oddest emotional expressions and so on. Anyway, I hope that clarifies it. If there's any questions about that particular subject, well, just comment below, and I'll see that I can see if I can answer that for you the best possible way. Then there's something that's very dear or close to my heart, so to speak, and it's got to do with the ongoing aspect of the heart. Now, if you're not familiar with the heart energy or knowledge about this, please have a look at Armed Heart, which is on my YouTube channel or my page, and just familiarize yourself about how the heart plays a role in everything that we do. Now, recently there's been a serious exposure on exploitation in movies. All the new movies have been coming out showing all of this type of frequency, and I'm basically discussing the frequency and the effects of how they are still, or the dark wizards are still using your energy against you, making you do these things to yourself on a subliminal level. I'm talking about the heart frequency that's being manipulated so that the energy field around us materializes or structures or creates our events, creates these events. I'm also talking about the fear and the aspect of the fight or flight syndrome, and that's what I call it a syndrome, because it's something that we have within ourselves, and it's almost as if it's being given more, there's more emphasis on that specifically. Now, I'm not an avid moviegoer as such, but I am explaining what I can see from an objective point of view. So this is also not a reflection to anybody who is watching a lot of movies or media or anything like that, as long as you know that what you're watching is not real, and that if you want to do that as a way of relaxing, go ahead. There's nothing wrong with that, as long as you know that when you go to sleep you don't dream of it. That is rather difficult to establish. I mean, establish what is real and what is not real, and then you're pretty much set. You're fine. The issue about the fight or flight syndrome. Now, this keeps on coming up in terms of using the sacred feminine element, and how she is being used in the media to become this hero or heroine or whatever you want to call it. But at the same time, it's also very skew, the explanation on that. Now, in terms of explaining that and what it does to you, it doesn't matter who you are, whether you're male or female, whether you're watching this in whatever way you do. The issue is there's this vampiristic campaign going out. It's not stopped. It's only just being more apparent now that we can actually see, now that there's more light on the subject, so to speak. We are allowing ourselves to be triggered on a base, fear-based or base level in terms of how we feel about things. So what a movie does like this, I'm using an example as, for example, Resident Evil, where you're constantly having to run, fight or flight, fight or flight, fight or flight, fight or flight. Now they did that continuously, even through the music as well, and that makes you feel in a very stressed out state when you're looking at it. Okay, now granted, that's the outside or the outer emotional experience that you're having, or the chemical reaction that you're having. The issue lies with the esoteric magic or the esoteric craft that they're using to bring this across to you. So here's the plan. Here's what they do. I'm reading my notes here, so I don't lose it. Fear stimulates the fight or flight syndrome, and this then is creating a constant up and down reaction from your base chakra to your solar plexus, base chakra to your solar plexus, continuously, and then eventually your heart races as well. It stimulates your adrenal glands, and you're always on alert. So you're going to have that, and at the same time, it also, in the movie as such, or the media as such, it portrays the feminine in a way that she is masculinized, as opposed to being celebrated for being a sacred feminine, or sacred masculine and feminine balanced person. It's basically bringing down the value of, or not even the value, but it brings down the frequency of what she would have represented if it was in a balanced way. If we had to look at it in a balanced way, we would have realized, or if it was made in a balanced way, we would have seen that it's something to aspire to. For both male and female, it's something to aspire to see. It's always good to see someone from a disempowered position coming into an empowered, self-empowered position while they're helping themselves. And the same in that process. What they're bringing into the media is the sexualization of this particular element. So by triggering our base level and our solar plexus, so base would be connected to procreation or survival, or how to make it at the end of the month, or living in fear, or being angry, or all of those emotional issues that we have connected to our basic survival. So we're in a survivalist state of mind. Okay, and this is also another thing that I have against survivalist media, where you're brought into this. It's gonna happen anytime now. It'll happen just now. It's gonna happen. It's going to happen. So you're in that constant, almost poisoned state. Not that I'm saying it's not good to. You have to be aware, obviously, within in awareness, that you can't just go out of the street, or out of your yard, or out of your house without being aware that there will be something, or there could be something that could pose a threat. But you're not going to look for it. You're not going to seek it out. You're not going to wish for it to be there at all. But you subconsciously create that element within you. That's how your heart creates it. I mean, your heart is supposed to be connected to a source, and it's the unique thumbprint, that I've called it a thumbprint, of every individual on the planet who is connected to the heart consciousness, that you basically create what it is that's within your existence of your heart. Okay. As I've said, if you don't understand this, please go and watch the Armed Heart 1 or the Armed Heart video. You'll understand exactly what I'm saying about that. Now, to come back to the subject, this sexualization of the feminine element is also bringing her as a person, or as a character, brings the character down. It reduces that character to a sexual icon, because the base chakra is stimulated, or the fear chakra is the solar plexus is stimulated. So you're constantly going to look, I want to stay away from this person, and at the same time I hate you, I want to kill you, and at the same time can I be your friend, and all of those mixed up things. So it also particularly, so the stronger the woman becomes in whatever it is that she's playing, the more the structure, debasing of her comes forward. That's how they're creating a fractured mind. It's how they're creating a fractured outlook on things that are appearing to be healthy. I mean, it always reminds me of that song of Tina Turner singing "We Don't Need Another Euro." I think you should listen to that and look at the words, because I think if we're not able to take responsibility for ourselves, we're always continuously going to be looking for a euro to come and save us, whether it's male or female. We're always going to be looking for it, because we still do not see or cannot see or are aware that we are basically, we must be our own heroes. We must take responsibility for ourselves. The planet does not belong to one person only. I mean, we're all living on this particular planet. This is the planet that is the heart of the multiverse. One heart with many aspects of the heart. If we think in terms of our emotional feelings about where we live and how we feel about ourselves, we definitely influence the energy around us. I'm using this example. When you have, this is that scientist with the rice in the 2 cups of water. One he spoke angrily to, and the other one he loved continuously. And within a month, the experiment came through saying that the one that he spoke angrily to, the rice seeds died, and the other one that was given love and nurture, the rice grew into little rice plants. We have 70% water within ourselves, and I think this is quite obvious that we need to be mindful and heartful, that we must mind how we communicate and speak with each other in that way. Now, I'm not just harping on or anything like that. I'm also discussing the sacred masculine energy, which has also been demasculinized. If you look at a few years ago, I'm sure you'll find out, you'll see it in the advertisements as they used to advertise war movies. A lot of war movies. Many years ago, it was just continuously war movies, having to defend the city, and so on and all of that. It shows you that there is a masculine element of control, because even so that the male character is within 5 minutes turning into a hero, he is still being mocked through his actions. It's almost preposterously exaggerated in ways. There's also dying for the country. I don't say there's anything wrong with being patriotic, but to die for something, unless it's really, really necessary, you shouldn't even you shouldn't even get to that place in your life. But again, as I say, this is up to you to decide how you want to take this. We must want to live. We must not feel that we need to survive. If we need to survive, that means we're constantly in a fight or flight syndrome. The best way to basically bring that through in I'm bringing another example in, again, about the debasing of the feminine element. So let me just bring this very clearly through again, is that the feminine element is mocked by making her into a hero, but when you look at it, you'll see that she's also being exploited sexually. Now, that sexual exploitation allows very negative things to take place, you can look at someone and you must rather work on how you feel about the situation more so. Just for interest's sake, South Africa is known as the highest rape. There's the highest rape capital statistics in the world. So that goes for mothers as well. If you're not just a separate entity, you're a sacred woman, sacred feminine, with a sacred masculine energy within inside of you. You've got the creator elements inside of you. Masculinity and femininity is the soul, and masculinity is the matter that you're in. That is your human existence. It's your human right to use as you need to live, to look after yourself, to be able to plant a seed in the ground and see it grow and harvest that fruit. That's where the balance comes in. It's not about the actual literal male-female at all. It's about the soul and the mind. It's about the heart and the mind. It's the balance between those aspects. It's the balance between how you feel and what you think and what you're allowing yourself to be exposed to. You have the right to switch off the media by switching it off. You can switch off the TV, you can unplug, mute, turn the music down. You can do whatever you want to do to stop that. You can. You have the right to do that. But if you choose not to, then either you're lazy or you're not really aware of all of these things. Anyway, I actually think that I've discussed most of what I needed to discuss and bring this through. To wrap it up, the conclusion is that where there's fear, there's also a degrading of our sacred right as beings who we are. That we are mindful how we create with our thoughts and our hearts and our intentions, and that we must be mindful that our wand or our power is not turned against us. And that is where I could give advice if you needed to know, if you wanted to know. Anyway, I'm going to wrap this up. Thank you for listening. Please join or subscribe, and please go ahead with all the questions. I'll try and answer it as best as I can. As I said, my details are in the description page of my channel, and I'd love to hear from you if there's any questions. Thank you. Goodbye.